Dear students, we are discussing on the construction pavement. Today's topic of discussion is construction of WBM road, that is water-bound macadam road. Now, what is water-bound macadam road? This water, this WBM road, it consists of a clean crushed coarse aggregates which are mechanically interlocked by rolling, and the voids in the aggregates are filled with the screening and the binding material with the help of the water, and this all mixture is known as a WBM, water bound macadam. Now this is laid on a prepared subgrade, the subbase and the base course of an existing pavement. It can be used in any of this layer where the rainfall is not heavy. At that time, a camber of 1 in 48 at the formation level of the subgrade as well as the finished surface. And when the rainfall is very heavy, at that time, a camber of 1 in 36 is suggested. This both the specifications are based on the IRC 19 thickness of each layer of WBM road, that is about 7.5 centimeter to 10 centimeter. These are the brief specifications or the some specification related to the WBM road. Now let us see what are its pros and what are its cons. So why we are using WBM roads, why it is preferable and where. So let us talk about its advantage, that is pros. So WBM roads are having initial cost is very low. They make the use of locally available material and labor. So that's why the skilled labor are not required. Also, if in a good condition, it can take a composite traffic of about 900 tons per lane per day. So this shows its strength, and that's why the WBM road are more preferable. The next, let's see what are its cons, what are its drawbacks. Well, first I can say the maintenance cost is very high. Then if the waterbound macadam surface is very poorly maintained, if you are not maintain it regularly, it causes the inconvenience and danger to the traffic. They are permeable to rainwater, and that's why it leads to the softening and the yielding of the subsoil. The failure of this road surface that mainly occurs due to the intensive traffic, the poor drainage, and dirty binding materials, also or because of the insufficient foundation. So all in all, we can say the life of such type of road is very less, and these are the disadvantage of WBM road. Now if we discuss on the material we are using for this kind of uh, road, then the coarse aggregate, the screening, and the binding materials, these three are the materials we are using for this, for the construction of this particular road. The first we will talk about the coarse aggregates. Now the coarse aggregates like are crushed slag over the burnt brick, concourse, laterites, broken stones, and these are the IRC recommended crushed aggregates we can use for WBA roads. There are a few specifications related to this that will be very useful if taken as a consideration. If we talk about the properties of such type of coarse aggregate we are using for WBM, that is if you are using for sub base, then its abrasion value would be around 60 percentage, the impact value would be around 50 percentage, And if you are using this WBM mesh for the surfacing cores, at that moment that impact aberration value would be around maximally 40%, the impact value would be maximum 30%, and its flakiness index that would be around 50%. So these are the few specifications that we are considered for WBM road. The next is screening. The screening are used to fill up the voids in the compacted layer of coarse aggregate. And that's why the screening consists of aggregates of very smaller size, generally of the same material of the such as the coarse aggregate. The next is binder material. The binding material consisting of the fine grained material which is used in WBM road or WBM construction to prevent the raveling of the stones. The conker modules or the limestones dust may be also used as a WBM construction. The binding material should have the plasticity index between 4 to 9 when WBM is used as a surfacing course. This is specifically for the surfacing course. The most important thing is that the binding material for such type of road or such type of mix need not use where the crushable type material, that is like murum or the soft gravel, is used as a screening. If you have used these two material as a screening material, at that moment you did not use to provide the binder materials over that layer. So let's discuss about the construction procedure, construction method of WBM road, that is water-bound macadam. There are the steps to be followed for the construction, wherein the first stage is preparation of the foundation for receiving the WBM course. Foundation for receiving the new layer of WBM may be either subgrade or the subbase course. The foundation layer is prepared to the required grade and the camber. It is also to be cleaned of all the dust and loose material. Any rust or the soft spots should be corrected and rolled. The foundation should be well dried. When the existing road is black topped, the furrows are cut at 1 meter interval and at the 45° to the center line of the carriageway. Here in the figure you can see here the gravel furrows provided over here. Yes, this is generally provided at the 1 meter intervals. Here you can see this, in this image they have provided a camber. With that also you must need to confirm that the foundation layer should be cleaned and should be free from any kind of dust or the loose material. Okay, so this is what all about the first step, that is preparation of foundation. The next step is lateral confinement of aggregate. Okay, confinement, that means uh, you will not allow that particular material to spread, so that is kind of confinement. Okay, so let's see. If the aggregate are placed on the subgrade, if the aggregate are placed on the subgrade, they are likely to be loosened and come out under the load of the traffic. So hence the aggregate have to be confined. Why we need to confine? Because sometimes due to the heavy load of traffic, the aggregate may be loosened or come out from the layer. And that's why we need to confine the aggregate. This is done by constructing the shoulders first to the thickness of the compacted layer of the water-bound macadam around 7.5 centimeter, and The inside edge are trimmed and it include area is cleaned of all the spilled material. Here in the figure you can see that they have constructed a shoulders, yes, and this will give the confinement, yes, and after the confinement you just have to spread the coarse aggregate, and that is our third step. Third step is spreading of concrete. Yes, the coarse aggregate should spread uniformly and evenly upon the prepared base in the required quantities. Iron sticks placed along the side of the road. The aggregates may be spread manually or by mechanically, and the profile has to be checked using templates placed across the road about 6 meters apart. The WBM or the waterbound macadam should be constructed in the layer not more than 75 mm in compacted thickness. So if the layer thickness is above 75 mm, at that moment this kind of construction is not permissible. And also when you are spreading the aggregate you must have to check that the whole template is placed homogeneously and uniformly spreaded. After the spreading aggregates, the next procedure is to be followed is rolling. Now after spreading the coarse aggregate, the compaction is to be done by three-wheeled power roller. Here you can see in the figure this is three-wheeled power roller, 1 2 and 3 three-wheeled power roller. It has a capacity of around 6 to 10 tons. Now the rolling should begin from the edge with the roller running forward and backward until the edge have been compacted. You cannot start from any unusual points. You have to begin your rolling process from the edge with the roller running forward and backward. Till what time? Till the edge is not being compacted properly. Now the roller should overlap each preceding wheel by one half width. The rolling is stopped when the aggregates are partially compacted to the permit application of screening. And then after you can say the rolling process is done properly. After the rolling procedure, the fifth step to be followed is the application of screening. Once you have spreaded the coarse aggregates, then after you have applied compaction. Now after compaction, there might be some voids in between that compacted coarse aggregate, and now you have to fill that particular voids, and that's why you are applying the screenings, that those are the finer aggregates. So let's see the step 5, that is application of screening. After the coarse aggregates are compacted adequately, sufficiently, after that the dry screening are applied gradually over the surface, that is to fill the interstices in the 3 or more application. Now the dry rolling is continued as the screening are being sprayed and brooming should be carried out. So now as you have applied the screening, that voids between the coarse aggregates are filled with these finer aggregates, and that means the layer is now smooth. So after all that you have to just make sure the brooming process so that the upper dust and any unnecessary material will get out. Now after the screening procedure, next is to be sprinkling and the grouting process. After the application of screening, the surface is sprinkled with water, swept, and it should be rolled. Wet screening are swept into the voids using hand brooms, and additional screening are applied where necessary and rolled till the coarse aggregates are well bonded. If the coarse aggregate and the finer aggregates are not properly bonded, so after that, after applying this sprinkling and grouting, you have to make sure that that should be well bounded, and if not well bounded, you have to reapply the rolling procedure. Okay, now after sprinkling and grouting, the next, now your all the surfaces are prepared. So after that, you have to apply a binding material on that particular surface. So the second next step to be followed is application of binder material. Yes. After the application of screening and rolling, the bonding materials is to be applied at the uniform rate. That is very important. It should be applied with the very uniform rate. Okay. Now, after each application of the binding material, each application, that means after applied at each and every layer the binding material, the surface is copiously sprinkled with water and wet slurry with the brooms, and it should be swept with the brooms to fill up the voids. Okay, now after that, this is followed by the rolling with the 6 to 10 tons of roller. That is already previously we have mentioned that that roller should be applied again, so that that binder materials and the screening process material, those are interlinked with each other, and after that water is to be applied so that the sticks to the so that it sticks to the roller. So after all this process, now your road is prepared completely. So now you have to kept it to settle down, and you have to allow the drying process. So the final and the concluding process of this construction, that is step number 8, that is setting and the drying. Now after the compaction, when the WBM cores are allowed to set overnight, on the next day the spots are located were filled with the screening or binding materials and likely sprinkled with the water and rolled. It should be rolled. Now, now your waterbound macadam road is prepared. It is ready to be used. This is the final look of the WBM road, how it looks like. So this is all the procedure about WBM road. Uh, I hope every one of you getting the whole detailed procedure. Let me recall the final steps to be followed. Just only steps. The first step is preparation of the foundation. After preparing the foundation, next step to be followed is the lateral confinement of the aggregate. After confining the aggregate, you have to follow or you have to spray the coarse aggregate on that layer. After spreading the aggregate, you have to compact it, and for that compaction process you have to follow the rolling. After rolling process, you have to apply the screening material, so that that void between that coarse aggregate has to be filled. So after application of the screening, you have to apply sprinkling and grouting, so that that screening material will get proper bond, and it should be the surface can be cleaned by sprinkling. After that, next procedure to be followed is applying the binder material, that is the application of the binding material. After applying the binding material, you have to keep your road or keep your surface dry and allow it for the setting up. So this is all about the WBM road. Thank you.